Hello everybody, I'm the founder and welcome to my video. I'll have two main topics I want to talk about today. First off, I'll be reviewing Starhawk, and then the second thing I'll do part 2 of my What Makes series. It'll be What Makes a Good Game. In the background, I'll have a Starhawk gameplay going on. The video is going to be rather long because of that. Starhawk games can last for quite a while, especially Team Deathmatch like I'm playing here. It's on Outlands. It's the Ground Pounder loadout, which I'll explain later. So let's get into it. This is kind of my first impressions video, and no, I'm not going to compare it to Warhawk because I haven't played Warhawk and I'm not in the right to speak about it right now. And yes, the gameplay in the background does suck because, frankly, I'm horrible at this game. But aside from that, we're just going to go Starhawk campaign, Starhawk multiplayer, and then we're going to do the What Makes thing. So, Starhawk campaign. Everybody, like IGN, Metacritic, all these game review sites, they've been giving the Starhawk campaign pretty bad reviews, and I'm going to have to agree with them there. Because this campaign has a lot of things wrong with it. One, the character development is shit. I mean complete and total shit. Two, it is way, way too short. You have 10 missions that are all pretty short and really, really easy. So you blow through this campaign in a matter of hours, and it's not even challenging. I mean, you want a campaign to be challenging, but you don't want it to be impossible. But Starhawk, they just they made it so easy. I was literally playing the first mission, Homecoming, I think is the name of it, and I'm on a Sidewinder, and this guy shoots me, this outcast shoots me with a rocket launcher. It literally blows up right beside my Sidewinder, and my Sidewinder just starts sparking a little bit, throwing off sparks here and there, and I'm perfectly fine. I get hit by another rocket launcher like the next second, and again, my Sidewinder had practically no new damage, and I was a little bit more damaged. And I'm just like, really? I have two rockets go off directly beside me and nothing happens? So the campaign, far too short, far too easy, no character development. And the shortness of the campaign also plays in a little bit to the low character development. And, so the main character that you're playing as is Emmett Graves. And he is a mercenary. Mercenary meaning hired by rift miners to protect their mines. Not like as in explosion mines, mines as in gold mines, rift energy mines in this case, from outcasts, scabs, scrappers, all that kind of stuff. And he is kind of half outcast, half human. He has been affected by the rift energy, but he's not completely transformed yet. So it's odd because it's set in the Old West, but it's also set in the future. It is very, very similar to the Old West in terms of Gold Rush. Like the Gold Rush back then is practically the exact same thing as what's happening here with the Rift Energy Rush. Except, back then Gold Rush, you would just go out west. Now you go into space. And the other thing that makes it very similar to the Old West, well, also the layout. The layout is very, like this map here, Outlands. It definitely has that kind of whole desert canyon feel to it that you get out west in the Grand Canyon and all that with the big stone columns and whatever. And so they've mixed those two components, Old West and future space, and I don't really think they blend that well together. I mean, they'd even put like Old West music in the background, and they don't really blend that well together. It's not something that I see going together. It's like somebody trying to mix, let's see, country and rap. They just don't go together. I mean, yeah, somebody's tried to do it. I know somebody's tried to do it, but nobody really likes them. It's like that. You have two polar opposites, and you have to be very, very careful when you're trying to put them together. So then you have the multiplayer. And with the multiplayer, everybody's just raving over this, like, oh my gosh, best multiplayer experience on the PlayStation, and all this other stuff. I'm unimpressed. Let's go over the basics first. So, it's a lot like Battlefield 3. You have larger maps. You are playing with many more people than you would in a Call of Duty style gameplay. Although, one thing that stands out in this game versus other shooters is this one's in third person, which is cool, I guess, in some ways, but it also takes away a lot of accuracy in some cases, and it takes away a kind of realism effect that I would have enjoyed more had it been first person. I mean, obviously vehicles. I don't really enjoy first person vehicles, but when you're just like running around with your gun, I think at least that should be in first person. Or maybe what they could have, maybe what the developers could have done is like put third person as the standard option. Like that's your first option when you spawn, you're automatically in third person, but you can go into the pause menu and change it to first person. That would have been a kind of cool thing that they could have done. So then, it gives people a lot more well, not really customization, but it gives them a lot more options on how they want to play the game. The other big feature that stands out differently in this game versus other shooters is the build and battle feature. Like this guy right here just built an aux tank. I don't know what the structure itself is called, but the aux tank platform just built right in front of me. Bam, slap down a building and it's there. And watchtowers, those have to be built. Supply bunkers have to be built, and all this other stuff. And it really adds a cool effect to the game. But the main problem that I notice with it is pretty much all the building occurs back at your base wherever you spawn. Not very many people build many things outside of that range. Pretty much the only thing that I've ever noticed spawn outside of the base was either an outpost or a watchtower. But another thing that goes along with build and battle is there are a couple maps that don't have certain build and battle structures allowed. For example, I believe the map is called Orbital. It's space. It's the space map, or not the space map, but a space map. Technically, it's all space. But on that map, because it's one of their quote unquote smaller maps, and they don't allow tanks on it because of the way that it's set up. It's too small for a tank. It has a lot of drop-offs and narrow passages that would just make it hard for somebody who's in a tank to get around. So they just kind of left that out as like no tanks on this map. The other thing that they did to restrict build and battle, make sure people don't go around just like spawning buildings everywhere. Well, they actually did two things to help this. One, they made it based on rift energy, so that you can't build something if you don't have the appropriate rift energy. There are many different ways to earn rift energy. There are normally rift barrels laying around a map, and you can shoot those, and they'll give you a bunch of rift energy. Two, you can kill somebody. Killing people gives you rift energy. And also destroying vehicles. I believe destroying machines, like turrets and things of that nature, give you rift energy, but I'm not sure. And if I haven't already said it, I already said killing people. Also, standing by the spawn, where you spawn, there's a big source of rift energy there, and you'll get it there if you just kind of stand there for a while, but that's a pretty slow way to get rift energy. And the third thing that they did to put limitations on build and battle is they made these loadouts. So whenever somebody starts a game, they create a game, and their host and everything, they get to choose a bunch of different types of gameplay styles. Let's see, you have Classic Beta, Ground Pounder, which is what I'm playing here, Air Superiority, Lone Wolf, and Heavyweight. There's also a Blitz variation of every single one of those. So you have Classic Beta Blitz, Ground Pounder Blitz, Air Superiority Blitz, etc., etc. And actually here, let's go over those kind of quickly. You have, in Classic Beta, it removes the Sidewinder, the vehicle repair arm, and the tanks from your build and battle wheel. You're not allowed to use those in Classic Beta. In Ground Pounder, you are not allowed to spawn jetpacks or hawks. In Air Superiority, you are not allowed to spawn Sidewinders, Razorbacks, auto turrets, watchtowers, outposts, or tanks. In Lone Wolf, you are not allowed to spawn a wall. You are not allowed to spawn Razorbacks, auto turrets, beam turrets, tanks, or shields, the shield generator thing. And then in Heavyweight, you are not allowed to spawn Razorbacks, jetpacks, and yeah, that's it. Also, Blitz, like I said, you could add the Blitz variation to any of these. Blitz just means that you have a couple pre-built structures around your base. Like, it has a predetermined base. Like, it has a structure that is your base at the very beginning of the game. And they have a couple other pre-built structures around the map. and you also have more rift energy when you spawn. So that's pretty much the main difference. And then there's also one more mode that isn't really talked about that much called Dogfight, which just means everybody's in a hawk. And like literally everybody is in a hawk. You spawn in a hawk and you are not allowed to land said hawk. It stays in the air the whole time, and you're just using your machine gun and your swarm lasers or torpedo or whatever you want to use. By the way, the torpedo is awesome, but it takes like half an hour to charge. Anyways, so they put in the loadouts, they put in the rift energy, and they put in the structure build limitation. I don't know if I already talked about it. I think I did. But yeah, you're only allowed to build 32 structures in any given game, if I haven't already talked about it. So they put those main 3 things in to kind of limit this build and battle thing, because you don't want it to get to the point where people just build walls all around and then everybody sits back in their base and you can't even get over the wall. Although technically Sidewinders can jump over the wall, or you could use a hawk to fly over, or whatever. But they did a lot of things. I think the developers did a lot of things right in the production of this game. But going to my opinion on the game, it's just not my style, and in my view, like, if they were tailoring the game to me, they would have done a lot of things wrong. Because I don't like this game, and like I said before, I suck at this game, but me sucking at this game is not the only reason why I don't like it. I mean, this game, because it's new and all, is glitchy as fuck. And, for example, I, along with many other Starhawk players, have had a problem where when you spawn, or when the game starts, it brings up the pause. Like, when you pause the game, it brings up this gray screen. Controller, it's like a portable TV thing almost. And it's gray. And then it gives you all the options with the customization, the skills, and all that. Right, so when you spawn, it brings up that same screen, except then it's going to show you an overview map of whatever map you're playing on, and then you get to choose where your drop pod drops from there. When a lot of people spawn, myself included, that gray screen stays gray for a really, really long time. And it's not just the primary spawn, it can be any spawn. Sometimes it doesn't do it on the primary spawn, but it'll do it in a much later spawn, and then I get stuck just sitting at a gray screen for the whole game. There was a time that I was playing, and after my second death, I was getting ready to spawn for then I guess the third time, and I couldn't spawn because it went to the gray screen, and I sat on that gray screen for 10 to 15 minutes probably, and then the game ended. Like, I barely got to play that game because of this gray screen screw-up glitch, whatever you want to call it, and it's something that the developers of Starhawk really need to fix. The other problem that I have with this game is it has much larger maps, and the gameplay can get slowed down because of that, especially if you use Quick Match. For anybody who owns this game or is going to buy the game, do not use Quick Match when you play, because Quick Match just will set you up in a lobby with relatively few players, other players, because I guess they're trying to fill the lobbies or whatever. But then when you go to like a server browser kind of thing, I don't think that's what it's called, but it's like Game Finder, I don't know. There's something in the pause menu that's the equivalent of a server browser, and in that one, it will tell you the game mode, the loadout, and how many players are in that lobby. How many players are in the lobby is the most crucial thing. You have to look for the maximum number of players that host is set for that game, and you also have to look at how many players are in the lobby currently. My suggestion would be to find something that has close to 30 players. You can have up to 32. That's the max that the game itself will allow. So close to 30, and you'll be fine action-wise, because you'll have enough people on the map that it probably won't be that slow too often. But I use Quick Match quite a bit early on in the game when I first bought it, and I was getting put in games with like 6 guys. So then it'd be, well, once I joined, I guess it'd be 3-on-4 or something like that. And that, when you're playing 3-on-4 on a map that should be 16 versus 16, gameplay is pretty slow. It's really hard to find somebody. And like I said, this game just isn't my style even then, because, vehicles, I don't really like vehicles. Vehicles aren't my thing. I'm not really skilled at driving or piloting driving in the case of the tank, Razorback, or Sidewinder, piloting in the case of the Hawk. I'm horrible at piloting the Hawk. I suck at dogfight, like I suck at everything else in this game. But, I'm not good with vehicles. I'm really not the kind of guy who will take the more long-range shots with an assault rifle in multiplayer, at least in this game, because long-range shots in this game are really long. And I don't like running around forever just to find somebody. And, vehicles pretty much become a necessity when maps are this large because you have your spawn and you have their spawn, and then pretty much in the middle is dead space. Most of the time, there's nothing going on in the middle, especially in Capture the Flag. I've noticed in Capture the Flag, most of the time you're playing a loadout that allows Hawks, so it turns into a dogfight, more or less, because then you have your base, you have the opponent's base, they spawn landing pads for Hawks, get in the Hawk, fly to the other side, either pick up the flag or get blown up, and then head back to their base, and that's it. There's no gun-to-gun fighting in the middle, and then people put down like beam turrets and auto turrets to try to counter the opponent's Hawks. But that's really all you get. So what I've noticed is that this game plays out a lot like Battlefield. It is very, very similar, I think. So if you enjoyed Battlefield, but you're looking for something kind of new, I would definitely recommend this game to you. If you're much more of a COD guy and you really don't like Battlefield, or you don't like kind of slower games, I really would not suggest this game to you. That's kind of where I assimilate, and I don't like the game. So if you want to buy it, go out and buy it, and you can develop your own opinion on it. Remember, this is just my opinion. Everybody is entitled to their own, and if you disagree, that's cool. But overall, if I'm going to rate the game, give it an out of 10 rating, I'm going to try to keep my opinion out of this as much as possible, just based on development of the game and how it plays, glitchiness and all that. I'll give it a 7.5 out of 10, which is much lower than many other places have been giving it, but that's because a lot of other places haven't talked about the glitchiness that comes with this game. And there are just a lot of features that I don't really think they're not sensible, they're not logical, like the future space Old West thing. That kind of pissed me off. Anyways, so 7.5 out of 10. It's not a bad grade, or grade, not really. It's not a bad rating overall for a game. But that brings us to our next topic, which is the part 2 of my What Makes series. This time I'll be talking about what makes a good game. So, everybody has their favorite game. Mine, personally, for a campaign only, is probably Uncharted 2, I guess. I haven't had a chance to play Uncharted 3 yet, so once I do, I'll maybe get back to on that. I might do a game review, whatever. But my favorite multiplayer experience is definitely Black Ops, mainly because I'm kind of a COD fanboy, as I'm sure most of you have noticed. And a lot of my friends prefer Battlefield 3 specifically. So, everybody has their own preferences, and some people like the slower gameplay over more action, and some people like more strategy, and all that kind of stuff. So I'm not going to talk about specific aspects of the game that are superior, or quote-unquote superior, to others. Like, I'm not going to talk about, like, third person versus first person, and I'm still not going to talk about stuff like graphics and glitchy, or like good graphics and not glitchy and all that really obvious stuff. So, for someone to enjoy a game, it has to challenge them. No one wants to beat a game in their sleep. It's too boring, but then again, it can't be too challenging. They also have to be good at it, because if you spend every waking moment, or not every waking moment, but every moment that you're on a game, if you spend it raging, chances are you don't like the game. I've bought games like that before, games that I've been horrible at, and therefore spend all of my time on said game raging. And that game was either quickly thrown into my collection to collect dust, or B, I didn't really say that was A, but anyways, that was A, B, I sold it back. So, those are really the two options when it comes to games that I'm just, like, flat out not good at. Because when you're not good at a game, you just don't want to play it because you get pissed and nobody wants to be pissed off all the time. So, people don't enjoy games that are too easy, nor do they enjoy games that are too hard. So it's really hard for the developer then to please everyone, because if they make the campaign easy enough for the noobs to beat it, or beat it fairly easily, you make it too, way too easy for the veterans, and then vice versa. And then you get into multiplayer, and with multiplayer, the vets will normally tear it up, which makes it more difficult for the noob to get enjoyment out of it, unless the developers include what they call, what a lot of people have called a boot camp mode. Such a mode was included in, what was it? World at War. World at War had something that was ranks 1 through 7, I believe, had their own specific game mode, so that they could just play by themselves. The less skilled people could then kind of get used to the game and prepare themselves or build up skills and all that good stuff, right? So, what makes a good game is completely arbitrary. While one person may like Battlefield 3 or Starhawk better, someone else may enjoy COD more, just because it fits their playstyle better. Right. So speaking of enjoying things, if you like my videos, then you can hit the like button below and you can subscribe. If you don't want to, I don't care, that's fine. If you don't like my video, specifically this one, go ahead, hit the dislike button and leave a comment below as to why not. I would highly enjoy some constructive criticism, help me get better. And I'm trying to become a better commentator. I know that I've made a lot of mistakes in this video, so just don't be shy, go ahead, tell me down below. And then again, if you liked it, tell me what I did well. So, with all that said, I'll see you next time.